Hello, welcome to my show, Olio. Before I go any further, I want to, as always, explain what oleo means. One definition is that it's short for olla podrida, which is Spanish for rotten pot or rotten bowl. I was first told rotten bowl, I don't care. It's a wonderful term. I love it. It's a Spanish-Portuguese dish with essentially everything in the world in it. Pork in all its iterations, pig's feet, sausage, bacon, pork, and chicken, chickpeas, cabbage, carrots, beans, pig's ears, onions and garlic, essentially everything in the world in it except muesli and candy corn. So in other words, it's apples, oranges, and a monkey wrench. So welcome to my monkey wrench. Okay, my guests today are people are a couple. I have people and a couple who I've interviewed before, and their faces and energy are basic to Auburn. They are important people doing an important job, which is focusing on the youth of this area, the Auburn's youth, the area's youth. They are Natalie. Your maiden name is Holy, and that's how I know you. Natalie Zapata and Rocky Zapata. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yes.
Zapata, and yes.
Zapata. Okay. Natalie is available at Natalie Poley, Pohley, at gmail.com. Rocky is available at PHLIP530 at gmail.com.
Susan, I've actually changed my email recently.
Oh, you have?
I apologize to do that to you.
Oh, my goodness.
But I do have it listed, and my email is auburnhiphop@gmail.com,
Okay.
just like it's spelled.
Auburn Hip Hop.
It's easier for people to remember. I don't have to spell it out.
Yeah. auburnhiphop@gmail.com. So, since that is part of your email, what is hip hop? Let's start with that. What's hip hop?
That's a loaded question. I could go on for this whole segment about what hip hop is, or what people think hip hop is. But
what do you think? What is hip hop in Auburn?
Hip hop's a culture. Here in Auburn, hip hop is something special in its own, but it's part of a larger culture.
Okay.
And there's a whole history with that culture that we like to teach the kids, and really helps us illustrate, other issues in the world from where hip hop was really originated, which was New York. But here locally, it's been a movement for the young people. Here locally, it's been something that's really opened up opportunities for young artists and people that already enjoy hip hop, but there wasn't a space for it before. So here there's an excitement and enthusiasm, and even 12 years in, there's still a newness to kind of the hip hop culture that people are getting introduced to here locally.
So it's been going for 12 years in Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
So there youth who were 15, 12, 9.
They're grown up now.
They've
Such
grown
a
up now, and some of them are married. Some of them are united. Some of them have children of their own. Are they still involved?
Many in many different ways. So we're a very open group, and Natalie can answer this too. But the young people we work with or worked with originally are now teachers that come back and teach with us sometimes. They participate in things like Grow and Peace Camp and community events. When we're hosting community events, they're kind of some of the stars, or some of the ones that the younger kids look up to because that's who they saw first.
Okay, and I'm hearing that this is more, hip hop is music, but it's also a what? A community?
So there's four elements or 5 elements or 9 elements, depending on who you ask, of hip hop. So we have the MC, so that's the master of ceremonies, the rapper. We have DJs, we have break dancers, graffiti artists, knowledge of culture, so people who are studying the culture of hip hop. And then, it can get into beatboxing, fashion, you name it. So there's a bunch of different numbers that you can follow, but the basics are those 4 elements.
Yeah, and the short of it is it's a culture. It's a thriving community that was born out of poverty, making more than something out of nothing. So at the heart of it, it's resilience. At the heart of it, it's young people finding a way to express themselves, to speak about the world around them.
And finding people who listen to them, who
Yeah.
pay attention.
Yeah, and then impacting the world.
Okay. And I don't have kids. I'm a senior citizen, as you will be sometimes, sometime also. So I'm not connected with this community, with this culture. However, I've come in contact with them. Each time I have viewed people who are performing well. They might not be performing what I am fascinated to listen to or watch, but they know what they're doing. They're doing it well. They paid attention to it. They know what it means to practice, to work with other people. And I've been in touch with them during the
It's a volunteer event.
Yes.
Right? It's a community volunteer events. I can't remember what it was called either. There were motorcycles.
Yes. But anyway, but at these events,
Earth Day Festival as well.
yes, at these events, there are kids, youth, working hard. And I asked one once, what are you doing and why are you doing it? Well, this is because they asked me to, because this way I'm not bored. And that being bored seems to be something here's bored over here and here's my life here. And it's more interesting here than being bored.
They love to help. Young people love to help. If you give them opportunities and volunteer opportunities, they love to help. And it's, not only good to connect them to the community in a positive way, it's teaching them skills that they can take in their life, different job skills, but I've rarely come across a young person who doesn't want to help if given an opportunity. So.
Yeah, I would say that community service is at the heart of all of our work too, and our young people have been the heart of that. So early on, I'd say since 12 years ago, our young people have been jumping at the opportunity to volunteer. We've gotten to work with the 49er Lions Club for probably 11 or 12 years since we started. They were one of the first groups that.
But they're old people.
Exactly.
So are you. As far as the youth is concerned, why are they paying attention to you?
Cool old people.
Cool old people.
No, people.
We were young ones.
There's a truth to this where people that have been doing this work or find themselves in a position where they're of service, like philanthropy or these groups like the Lions Club, they're excited to see young people that are willing to help, much less excited to help as well. It's somewhere there's a bridge that's been broken where that communication or that opportunity was not as
like, you don't know how to do this, you can't do this.
Or you don't want to because, we see you with your hat backwards and your, A, B, and C. When we first started this, we were really changing people's minds about how young people dressed, how they acted, and what they really thought. Because it's easy to sum up a whole group of young people and think, oh, they don't want help. They don't want this or that. They don't want to help. They're lazy. But the truth is, you give them these opportunities, you show them a reason, and they're not just there, but they're excited to be there.
Yeah.
I think we work really hard to connect the youth with the elders of the community and really look at it as, resources and stories and mentorship. And so we do bridge that intergenerational gap for sure. And we're really proud of that part of our program.
Why did you start?
Oh boy. So
why not?
long answer, short answer. I grew up in this community and I didn't have a lot to do. I found myself on a path to getting in trouble. It took me till my early adulthood to really start digging myself out of that and start building a life for myself. And community service and hip hop are a huge part of that. I was getting to go down to Sacramento to volunteer at all these events that I'd never experienced anything like it, where hip hop culture was just alive and thriving and people working together and a whole community of people doing things I never imagined. And
For each other.
For each other together.
And others.
And others, yeah.
Together.
Yeah, and introducing people like myself who grew up on rap and music through the radio to a culture, to a place where people can be themselves and are celebrated for that. You know, and we started going down there with 7 carfuls of people eventually, just to volunteer and to be a part of these things, because we don't have that here. And at some point we decided we need this here.
Well, why don't we do this here? We live here. Yeah.
And we need this. We never knew what it would become or the impact it would have or continue to have. But when we originally brought it, we just wanted to bring culture and fun and community and, you know, an opportunity for artists here to connect with some of the things we were getting to experience out there. And once the youth came into the picture, which was very shortly after we started, it really started to define who we were going to become and who we've become.
How do they find out about you?
Originally?
Now.
Oh. Well, word of mouth right now.
Okay.
Word of mouth. The kids tell the kids, and the parents we know tell their kids. So we're trying to keep things kind of small. Just, you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Want to try to keep things real healthy. So none of our groups right now are over 10 young people, and so our capacity is at that, but we do have several programs. So we're working with approximately, I would say about 40 youth right now actively, but not at the same time.
Okay. Groups of 40 or groups of 10?
10.
Okay. And what are these groups doing?
So, well, I know we're going to talk about Academy and Blah a little later, but
Why don't we talk about Academy? Here we are.
Okay, let's do it.
This is a conversation. Conversations go where they will.
All right. So, one of the groups we have is Academy and Blah.
BLAH.
And
which
that
stands for?
It stands for Business, Leadership, Arts and Humanities.
Yeah.
And basically, Academy and Blah was started. I have a young daughter, and I was homeschooling her, and we were doing just really cool curriculum. And I'm like, you know, it's just us, and it'd be so neat to share this with other kids. And we were already working with youth in the community, and so we just pulled a small group together and started a little school. And it's been going. I have four people who've graduated, so our graduation rate is at 100%. And currently we have about 7 students involved, and my daughter's graduated. The first group of kids we started are all graduated. Some are in college. And so that's one thing we do, which kind of leads to this huge project we're working on called Cap the Gaps. And that is where the young people, it's
Say that again. Cap the gaps.
Cap the gaps.
CAP, the GAP.
Yes.
S. Okay, good.
So it's a youth-led project where they are looking at the mental health system for young people, and they're looking at the school system for young people, and just identifying the different gaps. You know, my students are very happy in school, but we realize that that's kind of a privilege that not everyone gets. And right now, in particular, and before now, but it's the struggle to be in the public school system. We don't know what's going on. Their needs aren't getting met. Their social emotional needs are not getting met, and so it makes it difficult, to focus on the academics. And so there's just a lot going on. And so my students decided they wanted to do something about it. So they did a little community mapping, looking at the different resources available and how they're supposed to work for young people. Then they did 33 video interviews, much like this, where they came up with the questions. The youth were behind the camera, the youth were the interviewers, and we did 33 video interviews of teachers and principals and school counselors and students and parents and police chief, you name it, in our community, to kind of get different perspectives on what's going on. And they've now identified different things that they see as the gaps. And our next step, the scary step, is bringing that to the decision makers and asking for change. And so we've gathered some mentors along the way. And so my students, the reason I bring this up is this is continuing in our school, but my graduated students come back on Wednesdays to continue the project because we don't really see an end to the project. and that helps us stay connected, and it feels really good. And, we're hoping to make some positive change in our community around these systems.
Well, change. You have already changed. A friend of mine's philosophy is right in the corner where you live, and that's a small spot, but it's still a spot, and that's where you're living.
Yeah.
And you are changing the lives of the youth who are doing these interviews. They are learning how to ask questions. They're learning how to bring people out, they're learning how to talk to adults, which is a vital skill. That's and if you do nothing else,
They've learned so much.
Yes. Yeah.
It's really, that's really rewarding. And it's the first time, a lot of times we have youth in leadership positions, and sometimes we even tokenize youth in leadership positions, but the kids are truly passionate about this, and they're really doing the work. I mean, there's a point where someday I could probably step back and it could
That's
continue.
your job as a teacher.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm holding hands right now, but I have one student, she's in college now, but I'll be thinking of a worksheet I need for the project, and she's already done it. Like, she's read my mind and created the worksheet that I need, and it's a beautiful thing. And we really want to pour into the youth we're working with. It's really a quality over quantity thing right now, and we want to give them the tools and the skills to be, the next leaders, and kind of see what happens from there. And I did leave out one important thing. Academy of Blah.
Only one.
In Academy of Blah, we have 3 core values, and that's critical thinking, compassion, and creativity. And we believe that critical thinking and compassion have to be connected, because one without the other is not any good for forward progress.
And let me interrupt you for a moment. Is that true of hip hop as well?
What's that?
Community.
Critical thinking, compassion, and creativity.
I think it's at the core root. Either way, if you were to strip it back, those are definitely at the core of it. Although, it's art, so it's ambiguous, and hip hop is a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, the creativity piece takes that on, and so our idea with creativity is that we're building and creating in the world rather than destroying, and also solving problems. Creativity can be used in a million different ways, and so as long as compassion and critical thinking are married, creativity is kind of how we get the work done.
Okay.
And let me circle back on 2 things. One, you said, and I know how you meant it, but you said we tokenize youth, and just to be clear, not us. We see it all the time where youth voice is brought to the table, but tokenized.
Or not listened to.
And meaning not listened to or celebrated, but questioned, or celebrated but not trusted. And a lot of times we kind of flip that on its head in the way of young people are the experts on being young. Young people are the experts of today, growing up in the world that they're growing up in, and they have opinions, they have thoughts, and they have a lot to add to these conversations if we listen. And it's not to say we don't as well as adults. We have a real each one teach one philosophy, and that's where hip hop is. When we can respect each other enough to learn from one another, even our differences, I think that offers huge opportunity where a lot of times communications aren't there or shut down. But in that way, I also wanted to say we're in a really unique time right now. By just because of everything that's happened, and because we've had to focus our efforts and not think about the next festival or the next big thing that we're planning in the same ways.
Let me interrupt you. And this show could be seen forever.
Mhm.
And when you say we're in a strange place right now, we're in a strange place because of COVID. We're taping this on what is this month? This is the first of September the first part of September 2021, and we're still deeply involved after over a year and a half. Thank you.
Thank you. And that gives context to it, but that is what I'm saying. We are still in the pandemic or post-pandemic certain ways. There's things that we have to deal with. But because of that, we've been able to work closer with the young people that we work with to really focus our energy. And what we're witnessing right now is really beautiful, because as much as we've done hip hop for 12 years and as much as we will continue to carry hip hop forward, it's really branching in ways that are beautiful and kind of natural to our programs, like during Peace Camp or 1 week of the year. But right now, what we're witnessing is young people rising into leadership roles. Young people enthusiastically learning new skills and finding their voices, where before we saw that mostly with the young artists. We celebrated that. The young artists were lifted up and praised because they were on stage and sharing their views and their thoughts. And then in these little rooms, we would have these conversations that were so deep with young people, right? But right now, what we're witnessing is those young people that kind of just watched and supported before are really figuring out what their passions are, what their voice is. And because of that, we have young editors, videographers emerging. We have young leaders and organizers and people that want to make a difference emerging. We have people from different groups really finding their voice and being celebrated as peers, and we've had that before in small bursts, but what we're witnessing right now is really monumental, because we'll see what's to come from it, right? We have an amazing group of young people, and they're all finding their power.
Yes. Wow. And
that's just one program.
And so, Rocky, you have on your shirt, and you just mentioned the Peace Camp.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that written anywhere in what Auburn Hip Hop Congress or the Academy of Law. But you both are deeply involved with it. Tell us, what is the Peace Camp, Growing Peace Camp?
Should I default to Director Natalie, Miss Natalie?
So Peace Camp was started by Millie Livingston, I think 36 years ago, very long time ago.
Yes.
Her and her buddies with the Women's International League of Peace and Freedom
Yes.
would meet, and they decided they wanted to do something meaningful with the children. So not just childcare while they met, but something meaningful, and that's where Peace Camp originated. And about 2011, myself and the Auburn Hip Hop Congress youth went and volunteered at Millie's Peace Camp. Actually, Leslie had taken the reins at that point in time. And
Leslie Janus, right? Yeah.
And then 2 years later, they asked, would you like to run Peace Camp? And
because we're exhausted.
Yeah. Well, and we jumped at it because, further backstory, I had started a camp called Make a Difference Camp that I ran for 5 years. And it was just the same types of concepts. And so,
I'm sorry. You see these people have been doing this forever. And they're deeply involved with this organization, this community. Okay, please continue.
So it was just a natural fit, and we but we've been leading Peace Camp probably for the last 7 years, and it kept growing. We got to a point where we had 170 young people from ages 4 to 18. That was pre-pandemic. When the pandemic happened, we did it online with 50 youth, and it actually was very intimate and meaningful and worked way better than we thought it would. This year we did a small in-person group of 25, and we plan to keep doing it, wherever the world things take us.
Yes.
We think it's real important.
Oh my. Wow. Hold up your Academy of Blah book. This is one of several she brought today, but this world building from the inside out workbook, and I assume that the inside out means yourself to others.
Well, yeah, I think so because you're putting your ideas, but this looks at things like government, religion, technology, and you actually get to rethink these different systems of societies to create a new one. And so the kids can get really creative with it and imaginative and write a science fiction novel, or they could use it to create the world they want to see, and then we can work towards it because that's kind of what we're doing around here.
Yeah.
The kids love it. So
Well, wonderful. And I've seen on your Facebook Academy of Blah assignments, really deep, thoughtful, excited thinking that involves really working hard to think about what you want, what they could do, where that would lead. That's fascinating. Rocky and Natalie, I really appreciate your joining me, and I really am honored to be sitting with you and breathing the same air as the two of you. I value your activity. I value your energy and your love for this community and your love for the youth of this community. Thank you very much for joining me.
Means so much.
thank you for having us.
Yes.
We appreciate
You're welcome.
you as well.
Oh, good. Thank you. If you want to learn more, email Natalie Pohley, Pohley @gmail.com, or Auburn Hip Hop Rocky Zapata, Auburn Hip Hop @gmail.com, or Auburn Hip Hop Congress mystrikingly.com, and take a look at the Academy of Blah on Facebook. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you're as excited as I am. I'll see you again.